Good evening, everyone. Welcome to NTD Tonight. I'm David Lamb, sitting in for David Zhang. Here's a preview of some of today's top stories. A former aide for Trump testified in the New York court trial today. We'll bring you a recap and comments from the former president. A congressman and his wife are being charged for taking foreign bribes. More on today's indictment. UCLA's Chancellor addressed the arrests and violence that occurred on campus this week, and USC will hold a graduate celebration for this year's grads. First up, former President Trump headed back to a Manhattan courtroom today as a second week of testimony in his campaign fundraising trial was set to wrap up. Here's the former president on his way into court.
No, you won't stop me from testifying. The gag order is not for testifying. The gag order stops me from talking about people and responding when they say things about me. We have people saying things about me and I'm not allowed to respond. So this judge has taken away my constitutional right. And as the Republican candidate and somebody that's leading Biden by a lot, I should be able to respond. But this guy's got me with the gag order. Now we're filing, I think today, a constitutional motion to get this out. We'll be filing a lawsuit on the constitutionality of it. But if somebody says something about me and I'm not allowed to respond, that's never happened before. Thank you.
Hicks is the former White House communications director under Trump. She worked on Trump's 2016 campaign and was accused of suppressing negative stories about him. Earlier this morning, forensics expert Douglas Doss wrapped up his testimony. Doss focused on the content of former Trump lawyer Michael Cohen's phone. That included texts and messages mostly from 2016. Trump's defense lawyers questioned how reliable this data is and whether the phone could have been reset. Doss didn't review the cell phone data until 2023. Updates on the anti-Israel protests on college campuses. Police are moving in to clear more encampments. So far, more than 2,000 people have been arrested for anti-Israel college protests nationwide. Since this morning, the NYPD has been clearing the anti-Israel encampment at New York University and the New School. Both schools had deemed the encampments illegal and requested police assistance. Police arrested over 50 people at the two schools. And in Oregon, police moved in to clear Portland State University's library, which had been occupied by protesters for a second time. Around 30 people were arrested. This brings the total number of protesters arrested nationwide at college campuses to 2,000. Several California Republican lawmakers said violent student protesters should lose their financial aid. And the Houthis in Yemen, who are backed by Iran, said they are offering a place at their own school for students suspended from U.S. universities. NTD's Kelly Wright had an interview with constitutional law expert Alan Dershowitz on anti-Semitism on campus. To watch the full interview, tune in to America's Hope with Kelly Wright tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. The White House has clarified remarks made Wednesday evening by President Biden. He called Japan and India xenophobic countries that do not welcome immigrants. Biden lumped the two countries with China and Russia and contrasted the four with the U.S. on immigration.
Look, I think the broader point the president was making, and I think people all around the world recognize this, that the United States is a nation of immigrants, and it's in our DNA.
The president made the remark during a fundraiser in Washington, D.C. on Wednesday. He argued that Japan, along with Russia and China, would perform better economically if the countries embraced immigration. Biden pointed to immigration as one reason why the U.S. economy is growing. Meanwhile, Japan has largely shied away from using immigration to bolster its population. Today, the Securities and Exchange Commission accused the auditor of Donald Trump's social media company of massive fraud that affected more than 1,500 regulatory filings. BF Borgers is the Trump Media and Technology Group's independent accounting firm. The SEC is alleging fraudulent filings by the firm from January 2021 to June 2023. Trump Media is one among around 350 clients of BF Borgers during the time period in question. The SEC didn't allege any wrongdoing against Trump Media and didn't mention the company in the charges. The SEC accused BF Borgers of deliberate and systemic failures, including fabricating audit documentation and falsely presenting to clients that its work would comply with accounting standards. BF Borgers agreed to pay a $12 million civil penalty, and its owner agreed to pay a $2 million penalty as well. The SEC permanently suspended the firm from practicing as accountants before the agency, effective immediately. Public companies that have hired BF Borgers will need to find new accounting firms, and Trump Media announced plans to do just that. A Trump Media spokesperson confirmed today it will be working with new auditing partners. Democratic Representative Henry Cuellar of Texas and his wife have been charged with accepting nearly $600,000 in bribes from two foreign entities. An indictment in federal court in Texas says the alleged scheme took place from late 2014 through at least November 2021. The Justice Department declined to comment on the indictment. In a statement on Friday, Cuellar said, "I want to be clear that both my wife and I are innocent of these allegations. Everything I have done in Congress has been to serve the people of South Texas." Cuellar's home and campaign office in Laredo, Texas, were raided by the FBI in 2022. The charges against Cuellar are not yet publicly available. The National Republican Congressional Committee is calling on Cuellar to resign. The UCLA Chancellor addresses the community following the recent chaotic events that unfolded on campus this week, and USC unveils new plans to honor their 2024 graduates. NTD's Christina Corona has more on the updates.
UCLA resumed remote classes and limited campus operations Friday after over 200 arrests were made during the removal of a pro-Palestinian encampment. In a lengthy press release, UCLA Chancellor Gene Block addressed the arrests and violence that occurred on the campus earlier this week. Demonstrators directly interfered with instruction by blocking students' pathways to classrooms. Indirectly, violence related to the encampment led to the closure of academic buildings and the cancellation of classes. He goes on to say, in the end, the encampment on Royce Quad was both unlawful and a breach of policy. Block expressed hope for a return to a safe and connected campus community. He added counseling and psychological services are available for those in need. However, in response to safety concerns, USC revealed alternate plans for honoring the class of 2024. USC has scheduled the Trojan Family Graduate Celebration for Thursday, May 9th at the Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum. Graduates are given up to 6 tickets each for the event, which will feature drone shows, fireworks, surprise performances, the Trojan Marching Band, and a gift for the graduates. The decision to cancel USC's main commencement followed a series of pro-Palestinian protests that unfolded across college campuses nationwide. Christina Corona, NTD News.
A captain was sentenced to 4 years for criminal negligence in the fiery deaths of 34 passengers aboard a scuba dive boat in 2019. He and 4 crew members survived after abandoning ship.
A federal judge in Los Angeles on Thursday sentenced a scuba dive boat captain to 4 years in prison and 3 years supervised release for criminal negligence after 34 people died in a fire aboard the vessel. Captain Jerry Boylan was found guilty of 1 count of misconduct or neglect of a ship officer last year. The charge is a pre-Civil War statute known as seaman's manslaughter. It was designed to hold steamboat captains and crew responsible for maritime disasters. The September 2019 blaze was the deadliest maritime disaster in recent U.S. history. It triggered changes to maritime regulations, congressional reform, and several ongoing lawsuits. Family members pleaded with U.S. District Judge George Wu to give Boylan the maximum 10-year sentence. The Conception was anchored off Santa Cruz Island, 25 miles south of Santa Barbara, when it caught fire before dawn on the final day of a 3-day excursion, sinking less than 100 feet from shore. 33 passengers and a crew member died, trapped in a bunk room below deck. Among the dead were the deckhand who had landed her dream job, an environmental scientist who conducted research in Antarctica, a globe-trotting couple, a Singaporean data scientist, and a family of 3 sisters, their father, and his wife. Boylan was the first to abandon ship and jump overboard. 4 crew members who joined him also survived. During the hearing, Boylan's attorney read a statement aloud to the court in which he expressed his condolences and said he has cried every day since the fire. Although the exact cause of the blaze is unknown, the prosecutors and defense sought to assign blame throughout the 10-day trial last year.
A nurse from Pennsylvania pleaded guilty this week to charges for administering excessive doses of insulin to nursing home patients, resulting in 17 deaths. NTD's Christina Corona has more on that story.
Heather Presti will now spend the rest of her life in prison without the possibility of parole. She faced charges last May for allegedly causing the deaths of 2 patients and injuring another at Quality Life Services, a skilled nursing facility in Chicora. Months later, she was charged with additional offenses after reportedly confessing to attempting to harm 19 other individuals at various facilities where she worked. According to the state attorney general's office, Presti allegedly mistreated a total of 22 patients, some diabetic and others not, by administering dangerously high levels of insulin at various facilities between 2020 and 2023. Presti's charges include first-degree murder, attempted murder, and neglect of a care-dependent person. She pleaded guilty to 3 counts of first-degree murder and 19 counts of attempted murder. On Thursday, Presti received 3 consecutive life sentences for the first-degree murder charges and up to 760 years for the criminal intent to commit murder. Christina Corona, NTD News.
We'll take a short break now, everybody, but here's a look at what we have for you when we come right back. California residents could soon be banned from adding surcharges. Diners tell us they see the pros and cons of this. Utah is cracking down on schools found not enforcing new bathroom restrictions for transgender people. Chipotle is giving away 100,000 free burritos for healthcare workers. This is in celebration of National Nurses Week. Those stories and more coming up on NTD Tonight. Welcome back to NTD Tonight. I'm your host, David Lamb. California's ban on junk fees is getting its restaurant industry worked up. Could restaurant surcharges be a thing of the past? This comes after fast food workers received a minimum wage of $20 per hour. I spoke to some locals earlier today. Restaurant surcharges could be counted as junk fees, which are now banned as part of California's SB 478 for transparent pricing.
I think just looking at that by itself at face value, it seems like a good thing for the customers, but I don't know how that will impact the restaurants, if that will cause them to increase the prices of like the items on the menu.
SB 478 takes effect on July 1st across California. Its main purpose is to ban junk fees found at checkouts when booking hotels or airplane tickets. Attorney General Rob Bonta called them deceptive, and people end up paying more than they initially thought something would cost. San Francisco Chronicle said, according to a DOJ spokesperson, SB 478 applies to restaurants just like it applies to businesses across California. Other than fees or taxes required by the government, businesses are banned from listing a price that doesn't include fees. This is what people are saying.
I would definitely love to know upfront so that I sort of know what I'm getting myself into before I order anything or get any food, yes.
I would hate to see small businesses go under just because surcharges are banned. Because, sometimes it's nice to go to something that's not a chain.
Include the charges into the meal, what the original price of the meal. They need to put that, and then they can just give the menu to the customer.
The food industry worries that the new law will significantly impact businesses, increasing menu prices and employee pay cuts. Industries that have more leeway on this ban are car rentals and dealerships. This comes after California's fast food law took effect in April. The minimum wage for fast food workers increased from $16 per hour to $20. The California Restaurant Association got back to us this morning, saying, "We haven't seen any language released by the AG's office at this point. We can comment when we know more." In Santa Clara, California, David Lamb, NTD News. Utah is making sure transgender people do not go into bathrooms or changing rooms that do not match their gender at birth. Legislators are leaving it up to districts to decide how this law will be enforced.
Utah started cracking down on Wednesday on any school found not enforcing new bathroom restrictions for transgender people. Residents and visitors are required under state law to use bathrooms and changing rooms in government-owned buildings that correspond with their sex assigned at birth. Although the law took effect when Republican Governor Spencer Cox signed it January 30th, it was not widely enforced before a consequence began this week. Schools and government agencies now face steep fines of up to $10,000 per day for each violation. Utah State Representative Kira Birkeland, the bill's primary sponsor, has argued it's a necessary safeguard against people who might claim they're transgender to enter a gendered space. She pitched a law as a safety measure to protect the privacy of women and girls. Transgendered residents say she has used a hypothetical to justify exclusion. The rollout law left some Utah families confused as enforcement differed across districts. Legislators left it up to each school district to decide how it will communicate the changes. Some have held classroom presentations. Others have sent home fact sheets or met privately with families who might be affected. Despite their different approaches, the state's largest school districts say they share a common goal: make affected individuals feel safe while handling any issues in-house.
Now in sports business news, Miami Dolphins owner Stephen Ross has made a significant decision, turning down a jaw-dropping $10 billion offer. NTD's Carlos Reyes has the details.
In the high-stakes world of sports ownership, Miami Dolphins owner Stephen Ross is standing firm, turning down a $10 billion offer for control of not just the Dolphins, but also Hard Rock Stadium and the prestigious Formula One Miami Grand Prix. This billionaire showdown pitted Ross against fellow tycoon Ken Griffin, but despite intense negotiations, a deal couldn't be struck. Why the refusal? Well, Ross wants to keep these prized possessions in the family, according to reports. Ross, an 83-year-old titan in the sports business, has seen his investments skyrocket since acquiring 50% of the Dolphins, the stadium, and surrounding land back in 2008 for $550 million. With an additional 45% purchase in 2009, his total investment swelled to $1 billion. Now, with the franchise valued at a staggering $5.7 billion, the Dolphins rank amongst the NFL's elite, sitting proudly as the 11th most valuable team in the league. And let's not forget the stadium, which received a major facelift in 2015 and 2016, along with the innovative addition of a training facility in 2021. The transformation didn't stop there. They even converted their parking lot into a racetrack, giving birth to the Formula One Miami Grand Prix, a move that not only enriched the stadium, but also boosted the local economy and elevated F1's global profile. But why walk away from a fortune? For Ross, it's about more than just dollars and cents. It's about legacy. With over $1 billion poured into the property to host marquee events like the Super Bowl and the World Cup, Ross has turned the Dolphins operation into a beacon of success. Ross' refusal of the $10 billion offer sets a precedent for future NFL franchise sales, emphasizing that ownership is about more than money. This decision reshapes valuations across the league, making the recent $6 billion Washington Commanders sale seem modest in comparison. Carlos Reyes, NTD News.
Chipotle is giving away 100,000 free burritos in celebration of Nurses Week. Healthcare professionals are eligible to get one. NTD's Jason Blair has more on how you or a healthcare professional in your life can sign up.
Chipotle announced they're giving away $1 million worth of free burritos to 100,000 healthcare professionals. Qualified workers will need to visit Chipotle.com starting Monday, May 6th to register for a chance to win one of the free burrito e-cards. The registration goes until May 10th. Then, starting the week of May 13th, the winners will be randomly selected and notified. Chipotle listed 39 healthcare roles that qualify. You can find more detailed information by visiting their website. National Nurses Week runs from May 6th to May 12th. The current form of it started in 1991. And within Nurses Week is National RN Recognition Day on May 6th, National Student Nurses Day on May 8th, and International Nurse Day on May 12th. Jason Blair, NTD News.
Stay tuned for China in Focus with Tiffany Meyer coming up next. Beijing exploiting the anti-Israel protests to sling mud on the U.S. and its democratic system. A deep dive into how state media are doing it. More details coming tonight on China in Focus with Tiffany Meyer at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. And that's all we've got for you tonight. We'd like you to join us again on NTD Tonight every weekday at 9 p.m. I'm David Lamb, sitting in for David Zhang. Have a wonderful weekend.